everyone. Welcome to Lathe and Loom Podcast. My name is Cher, and thank you so much for stopping by my channel. This is mainly a knitting podcast with a little bit of spinning, dyeing, and weaving thrown into the mix on occasion. Today, I think we are all, well, we have a little bit of spinning, knitting and spinning. Wanted to update you, I've got a few FOs, finished objects, and several whips or works in progress. So I will update you on where I am with those. Today is Saturday, August 12th, and I am coming to you from Eastern North Carolina in the United States. So first up, I have couple of finished shirts. I have been focusing on doing a few summer top tee sort of knits, and I talked a little bit about this one on my last podcast, but this is the Vine tee. The pattern is by Athena Liu. I actually was able to do this as a test knit, which I was really excited about. I talked quite a bit about that in my last podcast. So here's the finished tee. I'm sure that probably is not far enough back. And I'll pop in some photos here. But it has this beautiful vine detail that runs down the raglans and also down the side seams. Here we go. Yeah, side seams. Has a high-low split hem. And is just a really nice knit. So I'll pop a few pictures here of some of the knits in progress and the finished object photos so that you can see how that is wearing up. I have worn it a number of times. The pattern is very well written. I did find it helpful. I used Knit Companion for my pattern viewing, if you will. And I like the chart function very much, and what I was able to do, because you do switch between a couple of charts, even though it's a small number of stitches, it's like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 row repeat for the vine. And so it's helpful to be able to put those charts, multiple charts in an order. A lot of people use paper patterns, and I mean, whatever works for you, but that worked really well for me, so just to share that perspective on it. I did go down one needle size for the main needle, so the pattern calls for a US 6, which is a 4 millimeter, and a US 4, which is a 3.5 millimeter. Interestingly, when I swatched, I actually did the wool the yarn that I used was Knit Picks Cotton, which is, and I used the color U077 Blackberry. So it's a cotton linen blend, and I use just under 9.5 skeins. They're 50 gram skeins. So I used 470 grams in total. I made the size 2XL, and so back to the needles. I swatched. I actually did one full ball in the round on the two different needles. I swatched on a US 6 4 millimeter and a US 5 3.75 millimeter. And interestingly, when after I blocked, the stitch gauge was relatively negligible, but my row gauge was much closer with the US 5. So that's what I did to not to use that. I didn't find a lot of difference pre and post blocking on that yarn, just as a piece of information. So I really, really liked the knit. I've worn it a number of times. It's a nice, of course I live in a relatively warm part of the country. I have not worn it since we've been up into the upper 90s. But if you're in air conditioning, I wore it one time to an evening dinner event. And I can wear it in the office. I wouldn't wear it outside this time of year. But for the transitional weather, for us, it will be really, really a really nice knit. So So I'm super glad to have that done. I've worn it a number of times, and I really recommend it. She also, she's kind of going to do a series in that vine pattern. So she has released the vine tank. Try to pop a photo in here so you can see that as well. So that's another option if you're looking for something a little bit different, or a tank option with that pretty vine detail. I think it would be really, really nice. And then the next thing that I wanted to do was to do a rocket tee. So this is a pattern by Tanis and the yarn I used my hand-dyed yarn for the blue. I'll show you in a second. That was dyed on cashmere, merino cashmere nylon from Wool to Die For. And then I just used the natural yarn, that same base, for the natural of the knit. So here it is. I am really, really pleased with this. I like it. I did it a little bit, as you'll see in the photos, a little bit more cropped than I normally would do, but I'm really glad that I went with that length. It has this very nice yarn over detail on the raglan, and a really pretty it's a V-neck, which I loved. It is a little it is almost too low, but I can do it fine. It has a really pretty I-cord edging all around as well. That eyelet runs down the side also. So it knit up really fast. I think I did I worked during the day, but it knit up probably, well, I can tell you exactly in my notes on and both of these are on Ravelry. I do have show notes below, which at least have links to my Ravelry project pages and anything that I might mention, stores and yarn and so forth. So I knit this on a US 5 3.75 millimeter, and the yarn the blue I dyed with Kool-Aid, with different colors of Kool-Aid, so that was fun. I have to say, when as I'm knitting it along, I'm thinking, it was one of my earlier dyeing experiments. I'm pretty sure I washed it out, but blues bleed more than probably any other line. And so as I'm putting this bright blue against the white, I'm kind of thinking when I blocked it, I was going to get a pale blue that's rather than a white or off-white that the yarn is. And I did put a little insurance. I used cool water, of course, and I did put a couple of color catchers in, but I'll say I had no dye color in the water. I was really, really, really excited about that. So it definitely was well set, and so I was really happy to have that. So this, and I was going to tell you, so I knit it up I started on June 29th, and I bound it off with, July 23rd. So not quite a month, just really evenings and weekends, so not too bad. It was nice. It was an easy knit. I did have a lot of I did cut the yarn at every stripe except for on the sleeves. On the sleeves, because it was just, I could carry it just that little bit. I did carry it. You can't tell now, but as I was knitting it, I was not really pleased. I could kind of see that yarn snaking through. I just could not get it quite the way I wanted to make it smooth as a transition. But so a lot of ends to weave in, but what I did is just every few stripes I would just stop and weave in the ends, and I found that I didn't wait to have them all at the end, because it would have been a lot. I don't really mind that kind of handwork, but it just makes it slow to finish. So and it blocked out nicely. So those are the two finished summer knits that I have. So my next finished object is my Advent knit. So you might remember past year I got for my birthday, my family gave me a Advent kit, which was Emma's yarns, and one of the patterns on it was the DaLuxe Shawl by Nelkin Designs. And so I knitted on that quite a bit through the Advent season. It's a extremely large shawl, as you will see, in fingering weight. Has a really interesting construction with a center medallion. This is my, just in case it doesn't show, that's the center. That's probably not going to show good. I'll pop a photo in. The center medallion, and I used just about all of this. It was a small a day pack by Emma's Yarn. So this starts with this really small medallion in the center, and then you pick up and knit. And I did talk about this on an earlier podcast. It's probably titled with Deluxe. You knit those for the cross, and then you pick up and knit the wedges or the squares within that. And then you make these wings off of each end. So it's really, it's a really interesting shape. I had to space out my blocking mats. I definitely could have used a third set of blocking mats. But it's really pretty, and I'll pop some photos in here too, but it's a nice pattern shape. It could really, like when I'm sitting in my chair, even as I was knitting, I could wear it like a blanket. But because of the fingering weight, it will be nice to be a shawl, and it will hang nicely, has a nice wingspan. And then it's thin enough that you could also, if you prefer your, woolly scarf wraps, it could be worn that way as well. So I think it'd be really, really nice in the fall, in the winter, to have a kind of a wrap piece. Definitely not colors that I would have picked for myself, but I love it all together. Has all the bluey purples at the end, which is what I would love. And then I just think the medallion is so interesting. So I think to wear with from jeans and a solid shirt that picks up one of those colors would be just a really nice knit there. So that is my 3 main finished objects. I've got a couple of spins that I've done that were test spins. You may remember that I should have brought it up here. This lavender, I think it's Silk Corriedale. Lavender Fields, I believe, is the name of the bat fiber that I got from Heelside Farms. And so I've spun that up to test it. This I did as a 3-ply. And you'll notice it's really like crazy oddly spun, which I was really disappointed because I had really consistent singles. I plied it together. I'm like, I just don't usually have that much trouble with it. Like, I thought it was overspun. Well, when I got ready to do the second one, I realized what I have done is I did not reverse my bobbin. So I plied it the same way that I spun it. So what I think I need to do, so I am happy with the colorway. I'm not sure if I'm convinced that it should be a 3-ply. But what I am going to do is put it back through reverse, which I guess I'll have to double reverse it. I don't know if that's going to work, but anyway, I'm going to try it just to see. I mean, I could use it the way it is. It just doesn't have great structure overall, but the colors are very fun, and I think it's pretty. Will be really pretty. I think I envision it in color work on a yoke, for example. I have 8 ounces of it, 2 really big balls of the wool fiber. So we'll have that. And then the next project, and what I may do here is show a little bit of clips. I showed that I brought it Maryland sheep and wool, a Leicester cross fleece that's just absolutely lovely. And so I spent several weekends ago, I spent some time washing it. And so maybe I'll pop a little footage in here of kind of the skirting off the fleece, some of the washing process, and drying the locks. All right, here is our fleece from Maryland Sheep and Wool. This is, you might remember, this one here, and this is 3.5 pounds Leicester long wool cross. Debating whether I'm gonna be able to wash it all together or separate. So it's kind of some there. If we had smell-o-vision, you could smell how sheepy it is. My closet where I've had it, even in that plastic, is pretty barnyard smelling, in a good way, of course. So, just want to look for, I guess, make sure big veg matter. And I'm probably going to have to just put it in the tub in pieces and go from there. I'm going to do there's quite a bit of veg and stuff here, so I might take some of that off and just be done with it. So I'll collect that and decide. I'm going to do a cold soak first, and then I will probably do it in batches for hot wash. So just take some steps as we go here. So here I've brought in, and I'm doing a hot water soak with some wool wash, and I like this, it's going to focus, Outback Gold. I do 2 capfuls in there, and I'll probably do 2 of those rinses, or 2 of those soaks, about 20 minutes each, and then we'll move to the spin dryer and lay them out. And then I have been flicking the tips of the lock, which I'm surprised at how much is, you know, even though I had washed, I'd soaked each section of the fleece, soaked twice in cold water outside. And I do try to reuse the water like for 2 batches of something, and then each time it's progressively cleaner. And then I brought it in, did a hot water wash, took the next bath, used that one as their second wash, and so on. So I at least used the water a couple different times in the sink there. And then I've been flicking these locks, so that's piles of that, and then working on the bats, which I actually have. I'm gonna run and grab that bat so you can see that. So, so here is some of the flicked locks. Put this down. So each one I'm kind of picking up and flicking them into little piles. So it's got quite a bit of crimp, which I love when I buy it. It is a pain to wash and process, I gotta say. So I have bags and bags of these little fluffy bits. And then I've started running it through my drum carder. So here is, this is one pass through the drum carder. It's just absolutely beautifully soft and silky. It has this has a tiny bit of like silver in with the black of the wool. It's just, it's so pretty. So I did a test spin of that also to see if I wanted to do a 2-ply or a 3-ply, and this one is a 2-ply. So here's my test. I am so pleased with this. I'm really pleased with this. It's just lovely and soft, and I love the color. I'm pretty happy with the, I would say it's probably coming out to be maybe somewhere between 4-ply and DK. I don't know if that will show up. Probably not. Anyway, so I'm trying to kind of process and spin, and I got diverted as I always do into other things, but I'll get back to that. I really want to have that spun up by the fall, and then I will probably be knitting a hap shawl with it, although I am debating whether to do a sweater, so I'm not really quite sure yet which way to go with it. So that'll be a lot of fun to have. And look forward to, I think it'll be very cool to have something that I did from fleece all the way to finished product in the repertoire. So that's my kind of my big project goal for this winter. All right, going to move on a little bit and talk about some works in progress. Have a number of things that I have been working on and off. Most of them, one of them shorter term, but the rest of them kind of a bit longer term, and I just thought I would update you. I have been really trying, so that Advent shawl, the DaLuxe shawl, was one of my older ones. So what I'm trying to do, I did, you know, the vine tee, and then I let myself, got finished something else in the interim after the vine tee. Anyway, I cast on the rocket tee, but I've been trying to at least do 1 for 1 and get my old whips kind of moving along. So the DaLuxe was the one I needed to finish to get my next cast on in play, which I believe will be the Tolsta tee by Rebecca Clough. But in the interim, so I've got some other ones I'm trying to wrap up too. So this one here is a Musselburgh. This is a hat pattern by Ysolda Teague. If you're not familiar with the Musselburgh, as I'm sure you are, what you end up doing is it's a long kind of tube, decreased and increased up in respective ends, and you tuck it inside, so you end up with half the width, if you will, and then this will fold. This one's for my husband. So I'm using worsted weight yarn. The pattern you can do any weight, any gauge, and the pattern guides you how to get your stitch count for that. So this is, oops, I've got sheep. This is earth yarn. I have the tags. And the striped is extra fine merino DK. It's their unique DK. And the colorway is 6001. And then the green, which is the balance of the because one was not enough for the size that I'm knitting, so I just kind of nicely faded it into the green. And the green has also got quite a bit of variegation, so I think it'll look really nice, and you can wear it, you know, either way, either solid, or I'm hoping the brim will fold up with a color, opposite color on each side. And that is the just unique, no, monochrome DK, also extra fine merino. And that colorway is 6059. So I'm trying to do 21 inches from the end of the decreases or increases to the beginning of the decreases. So I've got, I think, about 5 more inches to go. It seems really gigantic, but when I fold it up, and then I wanted it to have a folded brim, I think it'll be just right. So maybe a good chance to talk to you about my latest notion that I didn't know I needed. So I have these needle stops. I got these from Twice Sheared Sheep. The reason I actually got them, I'll show you on another project, was I was working on a blanket, and you know, you keep pushing your stitches up and trying to get them up to the side, and I was watching Kim and Jonna, which is a great YouTube channel if you have not watched, and they were showing these stitch stoppers, and I'd seen them pop up on my feed from Twice Sheared Sheep, and I thought, I don't know, can that, you know, is it really that big a deal? Well, Jonna said she was doing a very similar, I think it may have been a cardigan in her case, so long but back and forth as well, and she said she timed it regularly, and then she timed it after she got the these stitch stoppers, and they she knocked off, I mean, it was a substantial amount of time. I'm now 26 minutes sticks in my head. I don't know if she went from 26 to 20 per row or something along that lines, but it was a goodly amount. And I noticed on my blanket that I am doing the same thing. It really does speed up my my knitting time. So on here, it's more just to catch it so it's not coming off, which I don't usually worry about, but I do end up picking up a lot of stitches when I don't pay attention and put something down. Anyway, so I found these really good. They come in 3 sizes. There were 2 sizes when I bought them, big one, and then you'll see a smaller one on my other project. Anyway, and I found them really nice for that purpose. So, and I will put their link below. And I think the next one I'll talk about, this actually was a relatively new cast on. My dad's birthday is coming up. If you're watching, Dad, I know you're getting these, but hello. I am knitting him a pair of socks, and I'm using the Pairfect by Regia. I've not ever done this. Now, I knit my socks toe up typically. This is the way that this yarn works, I'll explain in a second, you knit from cuff down. And it's quite interesting. The yarn is patterned. You can really see. So you start at the end of the yellow. The yellow is waste yarn. You cut that off. And then the yarn is patterned, and you knit the cuff. So here's one of mine in progress. You knit the cuff until you run out of that first color, and then you start on the body. And then it's self-patterning. And then you knit down till you have, I think, 7 stripes, and then you do your heel, and then same thing on down, and then you do your toe. So it's really interesting. I like the Regia yarn. I've got some that I've used in my circular sock machines. It wears really, really well. I will say one thing I'm super proud of, because I was a little bit concerned, because one of the reasons I don't do cuff down socks is because of the tightness of the cuff. Look at that. Like, I'm so proud of that. And all I really did was I'm trying to think. I think I just used my standard long tail cast on. I just made sure I spaced, as you're, not doing it too tight and not doing it too close together. I did them, so I knit my socks on 9-inch circulars, and I do them concurrent. So I have 2, so I knit the cuff of one, the cuff of the other, one stripe of one, so I'm kind of doing on down. But anyway, I'm really happy with, and it's really kind of fun. This Pairfect, it's just different than the way I usually knit socks, so I would use it again. It's kind of fun to see like what comes up next in the yarn, and I know they're hard wearing, so I need to get on with that because birthday is coming up soon. And all the instructions are on the back of the yarn ball, so pretty budget-friendly yarn. Also comes in a lot of colors, different styles. Arnie and Carlos have a line in that Pairfect. There's a Monet inspired line, and the glaciers of Norway or something inspired. So kind of a fun, different way to knit your socks. So my next work in progress. This is another one I've been focusing on pretty heavily, and I did talk about this a little bit in my last podcast, is the Habitation Throw by Helen Stewart. This has just kind of been a background project for me. Did I even say when I started it in November of 22, just for when I need something in between projects or to be a relaxing knit. I did 2 large cakes, magic ball, where I've just strung minis and leftovers and so forth in. I've worked my way through both of I wanted it a little bit bigger than it was, and I've worked my way through almost both of the magic knot balls, and now I'm kind of winding up 2 or 3 minis at a time. Just have an assortment in here. This will be a baby blanket for a friend who is a first-time grandmother, so I do think it's a hand wash, which is why I'm not sending it to the parents' house. But here's kind of where I'm at. I am on the decrease. So here's, you can see my stitch stoppers. So I am decreasing now. This is how far I am on the decrease side. It's actually quite, it's way bigger than the pattern calls for. But I'm really happy with it. It is a great, just nice pick up and knit. It has a really nice I-cord edging that you knit with the in pattern. My rows between eyelets may or may not be consistent depending on how much I'm paying attention that day. But this is the one where I'm using that stitch stopper, and as you're knitting, you're obviously able to keep it close up here and knit instead of pushing up and down the cord all the time, which I'm a believer. I really found it to be super helpful and definitely time saving. So that one will be my next priority knit, if you will, to get this one wrapped up. It's a decent sized travel one, unless I'm on a plane or something, then I'll take socks or something smaller. So and it's been nice in between, or when I'm in a more difficult part of a sweater or something, I don't want to pay attention in the evening. It's just a nice, really quick knit to do. And then my other deep stash knit, embarrassingly, the second year of the Year with Marie Wallin and another Year with Marie Wallin knit that Nikki of Knitting with Cat Hair podcast has been running is over. It was over August 1st. So I started this in the first year, so 2 years this has been on my needles. I work on it and I love it, and then I put it aside, and I don't know why, but I don't work on it. But I got it out after I finished my, I just wanted a different thing after working on the Habitation throw. So I got it back out again. I think I have knits from here in the last about week or so. Really, I love it as when I get it out and knit. It's not been blocked, obviously. So I am knitting this inside out. So I will flip just to sort of give myself that extra little bit of tension. I'm not a tight knitter, and I don't really have issues with my color work, but and really the only issue I've had on this is where I am joining the yarn. And I at some point realized that because it's the way it's a cowl, sorry, this is the Burra cowl by Marie Wallin. I did not say that. And I'll pop a photo here. So you're knitting this tube, and then you're going to join the tube, and it'll be like this, right? So there are 4 repeats. I am in my 3rd repeat, but I do knit it. So I knit with it on the back side here, inside out. And I mean, obviously there's a little more stitch on there, and so I can see, you know, I'm looking at it. If I can get it up there, I'm looking at it in this direction as I'm knitting, so I can see that. But it's keeping my floats, which I think are not bad looking, actually. I'm not being too particular about weaving them in, and in a couple of cases I'm just tying them together because you won't tell. It'll be inside the cowl. This is just about all Jamieson and Smith yarn. I think it's all Jamieson and Smith. And so I had bought a couple of Baker's Dozen Jamieson and Smith from the Woolly Thistle a few years ago, and I matched the colors but based on what I had, so I changed, and there's some pieces in the colorway I didn't like, so I changed them out myself. And I'm actually going to run out of this color, which is supposed to be Shalomite, and I'm going to have I have a similar, no, actually that one I'm fine. I have another one. I'm running out of this one here, and I'm going to sub in this one. So, you know, if you were really looking, that 4th repeat will have a little bit different colorway, but I think it'll be fine. I think everything else was just one ball. That one I just needed a second ball of yarn. So I'm going to keep working on this kind of in between. You know, you do have to focus. You do have to have the chart, so it's not really a good, easy on the go knit, but it's not hard, and the repetitive. You know, you can pick up the repeat on most of the rows once, and then just kind of keep knitting. So that one hopefully will be one of my next deep stash off the needles. So that, I think, is where I'm at. So I'm happy to be kind of chipping away at the works in progress. As I kind of wrap those up, I do have some other plans. I'll keep working on my spin, and we'll just see what we end up making there. I think I mentioned earlier, one of my last summer knit, I do want to do a Tolsta tee. And I bought some more Knit Picks Cotton for that knit. And then I've got yarn for the Art Nouveau, I think it is. Pattern, I'll pop that in here. That will be one of my other, like that. It's also a tee, but a wool one. So I think that'll be go for summer into winter. And then I've got everything prepared for the Easy V by Caitlin Hunter. Hope I'm getting that right. So that, and I even have some of my hand spun in that. So that'll be kind of the first long sleeve winter one. Let's see, what else do I have on my plan? And I have got an Abydos. I have the Abydos topper sweater. I have that yarn caked up. So, and then I've got the Richmond Hill sweater, and have something else that I have all the yarn for. So anyway, so I should be able to knit both finishing past whips and future plans without having to purchase any yarn, which is not to say that I won't purchase any yarn, but I am going to try to work my way through those and kind of get those done. So I'm excited about all of those and looking forward to getting those out. So I would love to hear what you're working on. And I will keep you updated on my progress. Thank you so much for joining me. And I wish you happy knitting, spinning, dyeing, and weaving. Bye.